And the scenario I had chosen was I'm going to my friend's parents' house and they had invited me over for dinner, but they're Rwandan and I want to be able to connect with them because I know it's very important to understand people's culture because people's culture is actually what's a part of them. It also ties into some of our personality traits, it ties into who we are. So to be able to understand why she is the way she is based off her parents, but not only that, to understand her parents and why they are the way they are is very important. When I entered into ChatGPT, it's to how to understand the Rwandan culture as an American. I feel like as an American, I don't really know much, but I would love to. So the first thing that ChatGPT suggested was read about the culture. As I'm doing through ChatGPT, I'm reading about the culture, so I think that's very important and that can help me a lot, as it did in this assignment. It also suggested for me to be able to watch films such as The Royal Tour or sometimes in April, and these are able to provide a visual and emotional understanding of Rwandan, the country, and understand like what goes on around it. Another thing was to learn the different ethnic groups, which are Hutu, Tutsi, and Twa. But when speaking with my friend, I learned that a lot of those, they don't really have ethnic groups anymore because that's kind of a trigger to the genocide that happened that I'll later speak about. Another thing they told me was, or ChatGPT told me, is that I can learn the basic words. I can learn basic words and basic phrases in their language, which is called Kinyarwanda. A really big one that I learned and that stood out for me was learning proper culture etiquette, because if I would have entered their house and not have known this, I would have entered and not known to, it's respectful in their culture to shake their hand with the right hand and do a handshake. Another thing is understanding the impact of traumatic events. And I know it's like, oh my gosh, why is this important? But as Americans, we know that we have several things that are still talked about through our history that has been traumatic, such as we have slavery, we have 9/11. So they have something called the Rwandan genocide. And this happened not too long ago. It happened in 1994. And unfortunately, my friend's mom actually did lose her mother in it. So it's a very touchy topic, but it allows me to sympathize with them and understand the importance and like the down effects of it. But also it's just something that happened in their history as well. It also suggested me to learn their food and their dishes. So there was one suggestion that was called isambe, which is a soup. My friend, she always gets it, and I actually tried it for the first time, and it's pretty good. Another thing is their porridge called ugali, and it's so crazy. I'm so excited about this one because my friend, she always is like, my mom's porridge, I want it. When she's sick, she's like, I just want my mom's porridge, I just want my mom's porridge. And I'm reading it, I'm like, oh my gosh, you want ugali? I can say what you want now. And that I feel like that made her smile from up here to up here. Another thing was understanding their culture values. And I think this is big because their culture values is also something that makes them who they are. So they prioritize community, social cohesion, and respect for their elders. So I know that I could not just walk into her house and show no respect to her parents or anyone that's older for that matter, because that's really important in their culture. I also learned that they're predominantly Christian, which I am as well. So that gives me another way to connect to them and understand them, and we can connect on that part. When I went to go put in to ChatGPT and asked about the resources, I checked all the resources and it was actually very compatible to all the information that was presented, and it made me understand that ChatGPT was reliable for the question I had asked. Another source, the other source that I had found, it presented me with very similar responses. It gave me a lot of the same suggestions that ChatGPT did. So that also made me know that it was a reliable source. ChatGPT itself was reliable and I could trust it because I'm not only seeing this information through them, I'm seeing it through their sources, but also when I found my own source, I could see it through the source and understand like, oh, this is right, this is true. But there were two things that were different that stood out. So I learned about baskets that they make called agasike. And basically it's just this big basket It's tall. It's very nice. It's very crafty, and they make it. And her mom actually makes it. So I know that she probably would be so happy if someone presented it to her as a gift rather than her having to make it and put all that hard work. So going to their house, I could present that as a gift, and I think that would make them feel very important. I also learned that in Rwanda, they speak French as well, and her dad actually speaks French as well as Kinyarwanda. So to learn a little bit of French and a little bit of Kinyarwanda, I feel like it will allow them to be like, oh my gosh, she really cares about her culture. She doesn't only care about my daughter, but she cares about what my daughter's culture is. She cares about our culture. It just shows a whole bunch of respect. But what I would change my prompt to be was the difference between American culture and Rwanda culture, so I can understand the difference while still learning the difference, but also seeking similarities and embracing our difference as a way to connect. Because once you embrace your differences, but also find similarities and be able to merge it together, it provides a whole level of respect, and it allows for people to connect in different manners and different ways rather than just finding similarities and be like, oh, we're similar in this way and that way, because we could see our similarities, but we don't know the similarities within our culture. So I feel like that's very important, is to be able to embrace our differences as a way to connect.